Hello, my name is Stefan Hopman, and this is the MMI 603 Audio Signal Processing Tube Project 1 Psychoacoustic Bass Enhancer. And the general purpose for this is that we have conflicting consumer demands to have smaller speaker sizes, but also greater bass responses. And to kind of address this as engineers, we use the missing fundamental phenomenon. And basically that allows our brain to perceive a lower pitch than what's actually in the audio signal. And this is because of the nonlinearities in the cochlea. And we've kind of also used this phenomenon along the past. It's used in earbuds that are just too small to pick up to generate certain low frequencies, and also plugins like MaxBass give audio engineers the possibility to add bass sounds to their tracks. So here's kind of an example of my solution. And basically, we will have a left and right input that's going to be split into a center channel. And this center channel will be low pass, while the original left and right will be high pass. So what that does is split the signal into high frequencies and low frequencies. And in this low frequency, we'll add some nonlinear effects and thus generating harmonics to it. And we'll use this band pass filter to focus these frequencies and then return them back in. And this really, my model was heavily inspired by Ericsson Larsen and Ronald Arts in their AES paper, reproducing low pitch signals through loudspeakers. And they've really introduced kind of how to use crossover filters to get this sort of effect. Here's a whole variable list if you're interested, and you can see the min, max, and initial values. And one of the core kind of components of my model is that we have the Linkwitz-Riley filter, and it's the construction of two cascading second order filters. And as you can see here, we have the two cascaded high passes here also, and then here are the low passes. And what this will do is create an all pass effect that will split the frequency components, and it will also cause a 360 phase shift. And the cascaded filters will create a 24 dB per octave slope. The nonlinear effects are really important to this. It will give color to the harmonics that are going to be generating the low frequencies. So, I mean, just a nonlinear effect has two specific rules: the scalar and additive rule. And also, here's a list of all the nonlinear effects that we kind of tried out and felt were worth keeping into the application. I'd like to talk about some challenges I faced. So the real kind of struggle is getting a great bass enhancement and not getting a really muddy low bass at the same time. And basically, so you kind of just want to get a stronger bass without really affecting anything else. And that's really kind of where the two next issues kind of also are related, is that we kind of want to find the actually optimum filter parameters that we kind of minimize the muddiness of the audio. And also some nonlinear effect chaining. I kind of went from a serial approach to a more parallel approach, and that heavily improved the first kind of problem, which was the muddiness. So let's listen to some audio. Okay, so now that we're in rack effects, we have my block diagram right here. So we're going to want to look at the left input and the right input, and these are going to be sent through a pregain, and then they're going to be summated here. And with that summation, it's going to be a pass to these low pass filters right here. And then the nonlinear effects right here are going to be applied. And you might be wondering, how did we select this FC? So that's the resonant frequency. So the lowest frequency our speaker can produce. And then we have the nonlinears as mentioned here. And then that will be passed to a band pass filter. So the band pass filter will do two things. It will prevent some aliasing, and it'll also narrow down the frequencies to what exactly we want to get it to sound the best. and then I'll be returned back into the right and left channels, which have been high passed right here, and then sent out. And you can see here are the high pass filters, and here's a compressor, and we have a master distortion to determine how much of the clean and distorted audio we want. So I think a cool place to start would be with the oscillator. So if we start with the oscillator, we'll see right now I'll have the monitor select, so I'll start with a clean signal. And then I'm going to add some of my distortion into it. So here we see all the different harmonics I'm making. And let's put an audio file into it. So here are my audio files. I think this one would be a nice one to start with. And here I have a few presets that I've defined, and I think this one's a good one to start with. So we'll do that. So let's get it going. So actually, let's start with the clean, and you'll hear when the bass comes in, and then I switch it to the nonlinear. That sounds pretty cool. Let's try it actually with an organ sound as well. So this is the Catacombs from Pictures, which has the large organ part after the woodwinds play. But anyways, here play a clean version. So I'll just play the first note so you can probably get a decent idea of how that sounds like. So a ton of low frequency content, and let's put in my bass enhancer. Cool. So I hope you were able to hear a nice difference. And moving on, we have some electronic music. Let me just put these values a little bit down. So it's a bit more of a louder sound file. And I'll be switching between the bass enhancer and a clean version. So this is with the bass enhancer. Okay, awesome. So that's my first kind of preset. I think another one cool to try is the A-tan bass. It kind of changes the whole frequency a little bit, but it definitely gives a greater sense of low frequencies. And let me start with the March again. And let me play the clean. And actually before that, let's actually look at the oscillator again. And see here, the clean version. So this one has a lot of odd harmonics, which is good. I've put in a bit of even harmonics with the half-wave rectifier mix right here. But let's give it a go with the audio file. experiment would be changing the bandpass off and on, and I'll give the difference of that. And let's throw it onto the organ. Go to Catacombs. Clean in. Oh, that's such a nice sound. But let's move on to the electronic music, and I need to set this a little bit softer so that it doesn't clip. So at least from my ears, this one sounds great with electronic music. Actually, quite a bit better with than what I thought the hot bass sounded like. And I think this just has to do with the simplicity of the non-linearities and just focusing on getting the core harmonics. And I mean, will say I did like the hot bass for the march, particularly. I think that's because the hot bass might be good with covering a large number of instruments, possibly because of the large number of non-linearities. And then finally, we go to this soft clipper. And basically, this soft clipper kind of sets values to 0.66 and minus 0.66 if it kind of goes beyond this threshold. And we can hit it with a drive to, increase the amount of times it will cross this threshold. And let's put in an oscillator and see what exactly is forming. And I've also included the half-wave rectifier again to get some even harmonics. So this is without it. Now let's put it in. So you hear a very direct sound, almost a little bit square-like, but I mean, it definitely has some roundness to it compared to square. But I think this will lead to a lot of great harmonics for when we play with the real audio. So let's give it a go with the march again. Messing around a little bit with the bandpass frequency because I was hearing a really strong resonance in there that it wasn't really desirable. So, I mean, you can definitely play around with a bit of fine tuning with this bandpass. And kind of the interesting part about all of this is that, even a small change like this can completely, cause a desirable effect. So it's a lot of fine tuning. And even I had my high pass filters off there. But as kind of mentioned previously, sometimes we'll have them on and sometimes off. It's a bit of a suggestive. It will just relate to how much of the original low part of the signal is getting mixed in. I felt like sometimes turning it off would actually lead to a bit of a cleaner signal. But I think with the next one, we'll try with the high passes on. Maybe hear a difference. So here we have the organ tone. I'm going to play one clean note and then one distorted note. Yeah, that's a very intense sound with the distortion. It sounds like the earth is rumbling a little, but let's go into the final example, which is the electronics. And let's put this back here, and let's put just a bit of fine tuning for this specific audio file, and let's give it a go. Awesome. That sounded really nice. And I think the last thing to notice is just that there's some compressor. If I want to add, I have one version, one preset with the compressor. I felt like it overall isn't optimal to put a compressor there. And I have an additional anti-aliasing filter in case you feel like you have too much aliasing. So thank you so much for listening, and let's get back to what some. So to close off with some improvements, I mean, there's going to be a constant battle between bass enhancement and some muddiness or non-clarity in the audio. And I feel like I could still make it a bit like a 5%, maybe between 5% and 1% better. And I would really like to come up with a way to detect like what exactly your resonant frequency, like automatically, and then set your parameters. I think that'd be a really cool addition to a plugin. And I think I need to come up with a user-friendly GUI. This is just mainly me trying to test GUI best for testing all the different parameters. So I want to say thank you so much for helping me put on this project, and have a great rest of your day.